Part 5. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Jeon. Chapter 41. The bullets were flying like a violent storm. They covered every inch of the space where Lin Xian was. However, half a second before the gunshot, Lin Xian seemed to have expected it. He instantly fell to the ground. Countless bullets flew over his head. Lin Xian's eyes were fixed on the two mercenaries who fired. His arm was raised instantly. Bang! 2 bullets were fired from a pistol. This pistol was the pistol he had snatched from the man who led him to the mall. The man he mistook for a killer. But the 2 bullets were empty. Under Lin Xian's shocked gaze. At the moment of firing, the 2 mercenaries had already fallen to the ground. One of the mercenaries suddenly shrank into a ball and rolled. The other mercenary quickly moved sideways and performed a difficult military evasion move. They dodged the 2 bullets just like that. This is the mercenary. Lin Xian's expression was solemn and he wanted to continue firing. The muzzles of the submachine guns in the hands of the 2 mercenaries were pointed at him again. Too fast, Lin Xian was shocked. He couldn't help but think of the guard he had fought before, Lao Wu. When he fought with Lao Wu, the opponent's movements were so fast that ordinary people could hardly keep up. The so-called moves were all bullshit when fighting for their lives. All you need is absolute speed and absolute strength. But they are fast, and Lin Xian's reaction is even faster. When the muzzles of the 2 submachine guns were pointed at him, Lin Xian's legs instantly ejected and jumped high. At this moment, he didn't care about anything else. Don't talk about hiding your monster-like ability. You're going to die, so why hide it? How terrifying is Lin Xian, who burst out with all his strength. In an instant, Lin Xian flew high into the sky. Under the horrified gaze of everyone, he twisted his waist and turned in the air instantly. Bang! His body hit the 5-meter-high ceiling. This is 5 meters. Ordinary people jump on the spot, not to mention hitting the ceiling. It is hard to say whether your hands can touch the ceiling. But Lin Xian's body did not hit. Instead, his limbs and body were stuck to the ceiling at the same time. Like a humanoid spider. He raised his head and stared at the 2 mercenaries below who were firing. Bang! His thighs kicked the ceiling again. The whole person was like a flying cannonball, and it seemed to move instantly. Hit a mercenary. Crack! A crisp sound of fracture sounded. One of Lin Xian's knees, like a nail, nailed into the mercenary's chest. Nailed him to the ground. Under the knee, the mercenary's chest wearing a bulletproof vest collapsed completely. A big hole was smashed out, and I don't know how many sternums were broken. At the same time, Lin Xian's arm had already been raised, like a sledgehammer from top to bottom. Bang! A punch hit the mercenary in the face. The ground seemed to tremble. The horrible sound of bone cracking, accompanied by the sound of the marble floor shattering. There was a loud explosion. With one punch, the mercenary's head was smashed, flattened, and exploded. Blood, broken bones, brain matter, splattered everywhere. Everyone. Whether it was the fallen man, the middle-aged man, or the other mercenary. They were all shocked by the scene in front of them and forgot to breathe. And a question mark appeared in their minds. Is this the power that humans should have? That is the hardest skull in the human body. It was actually blown up by a punch? Endless fear overwhelmed everyone. The way they looked at Lin Xian was no longer looking at a human being, but a devil. Da-da-da. At the moment they were stunned. Lin Xian had already picked up the submachine gun in the hand of the mercenary's body. He quickly fired at another mercenary. The bullet hit the mercenary. But most of them were blocked by bulletproof vests, and he was not shot instantly. The severe pain made the mercenary sober and pulled the trigger. Da-da-da. The bullets flew at high speed. Lin Xian's body had already jumped horizontally. While in the air, his arms moved, and the muzzle of the gun was aimed at the mercenary's head this time. Pull the trigger. Da-da-da. Blood flowers exploded on the mercenary's face, making horrible blood holes. Blood splattered. The mercenary fell to the ground as if hit by a heavy hammer. His body twitched wildly for a few times, and feces and urine flowed. With a bang, Lin Xian, who fell to the ground, breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did he realize that his clothes were already soaked with cold sweat. 2 lives. This was his first gunfight with a professional soldier. The danger, excitement, and fear made Lin Xian's heart beat wildly. If it weren't for the strong body after rebirth, he wouldn't even be qualified to wrestle with the mercenary. I may not know how many times I have died. I can't rest yet. Lin Xian quickly stood up and looked at the middle-aged young man. At this time, the middle-aged young man who always gave people a feeling of superiority. His face had already changed. All the calmness, arrogance, and rebelliousness disappeared completely. His face was pale, and his eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. When Lin Xian looked at him, the middle-aged young man shuddered and felt a chill coming towards him. He retreated with a pale face. You. Da-da-da. Lin Xian emptied the magazine of the submachine gun. Blood flowers exploded on the chest of the middle-aged young man. His body was hit by a truck and fell to the ground. As his body twitched, his expression changed from unwilling to calm. It seemed that he had expected that there would be such a day. Or rather, when he wanted to take all the charges, he was destined to die. It was just that he was really unwilling. The middle-aged young man slowly turned his head and looked not far away. Looking at the man who had never spoken except Lin Xian. A strange smile rose at the corner of his mouth. That expression and eyes seemed to say, "I'll wait for you in hell." At this time, Lin Xian, who had dropped the submachine gun, was also looking at the man. Looking at the man's zombie face that had not changed at all. How many people can remain calm in the face of such bloody killings? If normal people can't do it, then there is only one possibility. There is something wrong with this man's face. Lin Xian walked towards the man step by step. The man's face still did not change, but his body was retreating. There was no fear in his eyes, let alone panic. Some were actually, anger. What was he angry about? Lin Xian was very excited. He had fallen to this point. What qualifications did he have to be angry? Or so he didn't expect. One day he would be forced to such a point by the ants in his eyes. The man had no way to retreat and leaned against the wall. And Lin Xian also stood in front of him. Don't you want to introduce yourself? Lin Xian looked at the man in front of him with a smile. If I say it? The man had a blank expression on his face and a mocking look in his eyes. Do you really dare to listen? Lin Xian laughed. It was a bit unbelievable that someone would do this to show off. Who gave you the courage, Liang Jingru? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Xiong. Chapter 42. Human Skin Mask. Lin Xian stared at the man's face. The mask is a mask, but not a human skin. Most likely it's a silicone mask. But it can be so lifelike that it is difficult to tell with the naked eye. It can only show that the mask is very high-end and valuable. Won't you open it? The man's eyes were mocking and his tone was disdainful. No need to. Lin Xian's eyes were playful. Who you are is really not important to me. No, it's important, because I will be your nightmare for the rest of your life. The man thought to himself, I will let you live like a bed bug, and I will make you realize that life is worse than death for the rest of your life. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? Lin Xian was surprised. The question is, do you dare to kill me? The man said matter-of-factly, if I die, your relatives, your friends, and even your pets at home will be worse off than dead. You also know very well whether my relatives can do this. Lin Xian's pupils shrank violently several times. An extremely suppressed and about to explode, murderous aura instantly arose in his body. Are you angry? The man sneered, but we all know that the saying that a prince breaks the law and the common people are equally guilty is always just a joke. Tomorrow, you will be held accountable and removed from the police force, and then you will have to accept my revenge. For the sake of your relatives and friends, you can't even resist. And I, after today, am still well dressed and well fed every day. Countless women have washed themselves and lie on the bed, crying and begging, waiting for me to be blessed. The man was extremely sarcastic. This is reality. Lin Xian was silent. For a long time. Ask a question that is somewhat incomprehensible. Why did you show up? Because it's boring. The man seemed really bored. Humans are such boring creatures. There's a time when you've had enough food. There's a time when you've had enough fun with women. I've tried all the things I can play with. So, I need to find something that can make me feel exciting and fresh. My dog is right, you are interesting, powerful, and have a high IQ. When I meet such a fun ant like you, of course I have to tease you. Following the man's words. Sudden. A group of figures appeared not far away. A black gun pointed at Lin Xian. Those were 8 heavily armed mercenaries. There are white people, black people, and yellow people. Everyone exudes a terrifying evil spirit. As long as Lin Xian dares to do anything inappropriate, he will be shot mercilessly by them. And this is the trump card of the man in front of him. Lin Xian is amazing. But under the man's inertial thinking. No matter how strong Lin Xian is, he can't survive under the siege of 8 fully armed mercenaries. Therefore, the ending is already determined. I win, the man said calmly. Yet. Lin Xian ignored the mercenary and looked directly into the man's eyes. Have you ever thought that you will die too? Man? An ominous premonition arose in my heart. Snapped. A hand grabbed the man's neck. Next moment. The man's body has turned into a human shield. Lin Xian's body shrank behind the man and ran wildly. It's not about hiding, it's not about running away. Instead, he rushed towards the 8 mercenaries with the man's body in his hands. How dare he? The man's expression changed. The expressions of the 8 mercenaries also changed. But no one fired. Because if you shoot, you might accidentally injure the funder. If something happens to the funder, their commission will also be wiped out. A moment of hesitation. A scene that shocked them appeared. At a distance of more than 10 meters, he was still standing alone. Under normal circumstances, humans are definitely not too fast. But when all the mercenaries saw the figure spanning more than 10 meters in an instant, shocked. There was an expression of disbelief, even incomprehension, on his face. Bang! The man's body hit a mercenary hard. The moment of impact. A palm like lightning grabbed the pistol in the holster on the mercenary's chest. Drop the safety with one hand and wave your arm. At close range, he pulled the trigger in front of a mercenary's face. Bang! A headshot. Bang! The mercenary who was knocked away also had a bullet hole in his face. The expressions of the remaining 6 mercenaries changed drastically and they raised their guns. At this time, they could no longer care about the financial backers. Money is a good thing, but you also have to spend it wisely. Da-da-da. Gunfire exploded and bullets sprayed. But it came up empty. Lin Xian had already pounced on another mercenary and hid behind him. Boom! A bullet hit the mercenary in the back of the head. Bullets exploded from the mercenary's eye sockets and flew out. Like exploding bloody fireworks. Lin Xian repeated his old trick, carrying the mercenary's body and crashing into 5 other mercenaries. During the charge, The arm stretched out from the armpit of the corpse and opened fire on the 5 mercenaries. Bang bang bang. Unfortunately, all the bullets were empty. The 5 mercenaries had already dispersed in all directions like a goddess scattering flowers. But, it makes no sense. Because Lin Xian's speed is too fast. Bang. The body collided with the mercenary. Da-da-da. The submachine gun in the corpse's hand was taken by Lin Xian. He opened fire instantly in front of the mercenary who was hit. Headshot, explode. At the same time, Lin Xian also took away a saber from the corpse's thigh. But the gunfire did not stop. As Lin Xian moved his arms, he fired at the remaining mercenaries. 2 mercenaries were shot in the body. Although it did not hit a vital point, it was still protected by the body armor, so it was not fatal. But he also knocked down these 2 mercenaries. Bullets have impact. Even with body armor, being hit by a bullet is like being hit by a sledgehammer. Being knocked down is normal. Lin Xian, who had emptied the magazine, rushed to a mercenary. Click. The sword flashed. The saber penetrated the mercenary's throat. Lin Xian was too lazy to pull it out and waved his arms. Directly cut off half of the mercenary's neck. A red knife shadow was drawn in the air. A knife struck another mercenary in the neck. There was a click. Explosions of blood. The mercenary's neck was cut off and his head flew into the air. Lin Xian's arms still kept moving. With a sudden swing, the saber flew out. Click. It penetrated the face of one of the 2 mercenaries who had just been knocked down by bullets. The terrifying force caused the saber to be inserted directly into the mercenary's face, disappearing completely. When the last mercenary stood up, one thigh, like a battle axe, from top to bottom, hit the mercenary's head. Bang, click. The mercenary fell to his knees. The whole head was actually cut into the chest cavity by one kick. Slowly retracting his thigh, Lin Xian slowly turned around. Coincidentally, the man who was knocked down was also getting up. Eye to eye. I indulged you too much and gave you opportunities to show off again and again. Lin Xian looked at the frightened man in his eyes. Are you ready to die? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kissy. Chapter 43. Ever since. For the first time, the man felt the fear in his soul. Looking at Lin Xian walking step by step. His eyes were filled with fear. The body was also shaking uncontrollably. He seemed to be gripped by inexplicable fear, and even had the illusion that he was about to be swallowed by darkness. You want to kill me? The man's voice was filled with anger and a trembling tone. Yes. Lin Xian stopped and looked at him. What's the problem? The words were spoken so casually and calmly. Aren't you afraid of retaliation? The man's eyes were so unbelievable. Afraid? How could you not be afraid? Lin Xian's eyes were indifferent and his breath was calm. It's a pity that people like you will never know that there is always something higher than life. You are just a little policeman. No, you are not even a policeman now. The man couldn't accept it, and despair finally showed in his eyes, and he roared, no matter how many of those ants die, what does it have to do with you? Don't you know what the consequences will be if you kill me? I know. Lin Xian looked calm. I also know that if I don't kill you, you may never get the punishment you deserve. If you don't die, I will feel uneasy. No. The man let out a desperate roar, like a beast wailing before it dies. Bang. A fist struck him in the face. Smashed, flattened, exploded, into the wall. Terrifying cracks appeared on the wall. Blood splattered everywhere. For a long time. Lin Xian withdrew his fist and turned around. He leaned against the wall and sat down. His expression remained calm, and he moved his eyes away from the body and looked at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the mall. He smiled and murmured, "You damn young master, why are you not just an ant in front of me? The sunset outside the window is like a gentle painter. Paint the sky into a gradient and beautiful picture. The afterglow lingers on the horizon. It seems to be a reluctance to leave the day. Or the expectation for the dark night." He took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, took one out and put it in his mouth. After lighting it, I took a puff. He slowly exhaled a puff of smoke and narrowed his eyes comfortably. He lazily took out his cell phone and made a call. After about 5 seconds, the phone connected. "Little brother." The cold voice is accompanied by a unique charm. "Sister, I got into trouble." Lin Xian chuckled, "Can you do me a favor?" Mu Qingjian's tone was light, making people feel comfortable and reassuring. "Say. Protect my family." Lin Xian took a puff of cigarette and looked at the afterglow on the horizon. Mu Qingjian was silent for a while. "Are you sure they need me to protect them?" Lin Xian was slightly stunned. "Nonsense. Parents are just ordinary people. He has now killed a young master. It will surely attract the wrath of thunder. He's not afraid. But parents cannot be wronged. That's why I thought of the two god sisters I recognized. If the Mu sisters come forward, they can protect their parents, right? If it's inconvenient for you." Lin Xian sighed. "Very convenient." Mu Qingjian's voice was calm. "As long as you are not treasonous and you are not on the opposite side of the people, it is not a big deal." No, I don't have the ability to commit treason." Lin Xian couldn't laugh or cry. "As for standing on the opposite side of the people, it's impossible in this life." "But are you tired now?" Mu Qingjian's voice became deep and soft. "Rest first." "Good." Lin Xian was very obedient, flicked the cigarette butt away, and put down his cell phone. It was indeed too tiring. "I haven't had a good rest for several days." He slowly closed his eyes and leaned against the wall. "After a while, I fell asleep. Time is passing slowly." Lin Xian didn't know how long he slept. Just when he opened his eyes, there was a person standing next to him. Lao Wu. At this time, Lao Wu stood beside him like a javelin. He looked coldly at the police, special police, and armed police not far away. And those people all had serious expressions and fearful eyes. No one dared to come within 5 meters. What happened? After waking up completely, Lin Xian stood up. A moment. Countless eyes looked over. The deputy captain of the Criminal Investigation Corps, the captain of the Criminal Investigation Detachment, a member of the task force, and the captain of the Criminal Investigation Brigade. These familiar faces were all looking at Lin Xian, and their eyes were extremely complex. "Damn it, what are you looking at?" Lin Xian was confused. "Have you slept enough?" Lao Wu glanced at him and said, "Let's go, the lady is waiting for you." Lin Xian looked constipated and hesitated a little. Following Lao Wu, he walked out of the mall. No one stopped them, no one dared. The two walked out of the scene blocked by the armed police and got into a commercial vehicle. Along the way, the driver is concentrating on driving. Lin Xian and Lao Wu were silent. The air also seemed to become extremely oppressive. Until at that time, did you consider the consequences? Lao Wu turned his head with a strange look in his eyes. As a result of, Lin Xian calmly asked back, "I am a policeman. It is natural to catch bad guys and kill bad guys. What consequences do I need to consider?" His calmness surprised Lao Wu. "You are not young anymore, why are you still so naive? It is a good thing to have a good worldview, but is your sense of justice a little overflowing?" He sighed and laughed in his heart. This is a young man with an overflowing sense of justice. Isn't it better to have a sense of justice more? Lin Xian looked straight into his eyes. Isn't overflowing a good thing? For a moment, Lao Wu was stunned. He savored Lin Xian's words carefully. Suddenly, his face turned red. I felt like I was living in a dog's stomach, not as good as a little guy. Lao Wu looked at Lin Xian seriously and nodded, you are right. His eyes became soft. And, acknowledgement. Fifth brother, do you think I will be in trouble this time? Lin Xian looked out the window and smiled. Nothing. Lao Wu sneered, the Wang family is finished. Who is the Wang family? Lin Xian was slightly stunned. But he knew who it was in an instant. The name of the young master is Wang? The Wang family, is this young master's family? Four simple words entered Lin Xian's ears. Suddenly it became a thunder. It made his head buzz. It's my sister. Lin Xian held back a sentence. Yeah. Lao Wu looked at him with a smile, but you are their brother. Lin Xian. No, why is your sentence so weird? It's like I'm eating gigolo. He is full of complaints now, but he can't find anyone to complain to. At this time, the business car drove into an alley. It stopped in front of the gate of a courtyard. When Lin Xian got out of the car and walked into the courtyard, not far away, a pair of jade beauties were looking at him. The spring breeze blew, and the cheeks of these jade beauties showed smiles. I don't know if it was the wind or the beauty that fascinated Lin Xian. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 44. Wow, my little brother is here. A soft, sweet, and charming laughter came. Two long legs moved, with a vigorous pace and a light figure. Like an elegant and cheerful little deer, she ran towards Lin Xian. Damn it, I didn't call my sister for so many days. A small fist hit Lin Xian's chest, and the beauty was angry. You stayed in the mobile phone address book without saying anything, or you planning to assassinate her? Lin Xian smiled guiltily and said nonsense seriously, it's Sister Qingtian who looks like a fairy. How dare I, a mortal, disturb her for no reason? Although he couldn't tell which of the two girls was which from their faces. But he already knew the personalities of the two girls to some extent. You are good at talking. Mu Qingtian rolled her eyes at him, but the corners of her mouth that curled up revealed her inner joy. Suddenly. Ah! She covered her nose with one hand, looked at Lin Xian's clothes with a pair of peach blossom eyes, and exclaimed. Seeing the spots of blood, there was also a disgusting bloody smell. Injured. Mu Qingtian was not scared, but stretched out a pair of small hands to feel around Lin Xian. No. Lin Xian shook his head, it was someone else. It stinks. Mu Qingtian ran behind her brother like a sister and pushed him to the back house, go take a shower. Speechless Lin Xian was pushed by her. When he passed by Mu Qingjian, he nodded and smiled, Sister Qingjian. Yeah. Mu Qingjian's beautiful eyes were calm, her demeanor was elegant, and her temperament was always so cold and elegant. After entering the back house, Lin Xian was pushed into the bathroom by Mu Qingtian. Watching her busying around. First put the bath water in a big bathtub. And brought new toiletries. Take a bath. Mu Qingtian waved her little hand and ran out of the bathroom. Lin Xian took off his clothes and walked into the bathtub. It was not the first time he had taken a bath here, so there was no embarrassment. His body was wrapped in warm water, making him almost moan in comfort. His tired body and tense nerves seemed to relax in an instant. Every cell seemed to stretch out under the comfort of water, without any restraint. People are very strange. When the body is comfortable, it is easy to fall asleep. Lin Xian closed his eyes. I don't know how long it took, but I heard footsteps in a daze. Then, the man stood outside the bathtub, behind him. Lin Xian? Suddenly, a pair of soft bare hands fell on his shoulders. Then, they fell to his chest and abdominal muscles. Lin Xian, Omega. It was obvious that the owner of those hands seemed to be very curious about his body. Did she think he was asleep and wanted to study his body carefully? The most outrageous thing was, while studying, she giggled like a hen. What are you doing? Lin Xian grabbed the restless little hands and opened his eyes. Ah! A panicked scream sounded behind him. Someone wanted to run. As a result, there was water under his feet and he slipped. The perfect body fell into the bathtub. Plop! Falling into the water, he fell on Lin Xian. Lin Xian was stunned. Mu Qingtian, who fell into his arms, was also stunned. When their eyes met, they were all confused. Are you trying to do something bad to me? To ease the embarrassment, Lin Xian deliberately teased. Oh, you're annoying. Mu Qingtian's fair face was stained with a blush, charming and seductive, and she was angry out of shame. She raised her hands and punched Lin Xian. Dare to tease my sister, I'll beat you to death. The evil one complained first. Lin Xian held his head with both hands, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. With his current body, let alone a delicate girl, even a professional boxer may not be able to break through the defense. Mu Qingtian's set of cuckold punches not only didn't hurt him. On the contrary, it felt a little comfortable. Damn, is she a pervert? Lin Xian was shocked. Otherwise, why would she feel comfortable when being beaten? Suddenly, little sister, are you in there? Mu Qingtian's unique and cold voice came from outside the bathroom. In an instant, the world was silent. Lin Xian and Mu Qingtian looked at each other, both of them showing panic on their faces. They looked like thieves with guilty consciences. Wait. Why should I feel guilty? Lin Xian wanted to laugh for some unknown reason. I was taking a good shower, and it was Mu Qingtian who ran in by herself and wanted to study my body. I am the one who suffered the loss, right? This wave is really a blood loss. Hurry up and find a way. Mu Qingtian, who was lying in his arms, opened her red lips slightly beside his ear, and whispered shyly. What can I do? Lin Xian rolled his eyes and cleared his throat. Sister, I was taking a shower and didn't see Sister Qingtian. This is lying with open eyes. Oh. Mu Qingtian responded, and the footsteps went away. The man and woman in the bathtub breathed a sigh of relief. It's all your fault. Mu Qingtian raised her head and glanced at him, angrily. Why do you blame me? Lin Xian expressed his dissatisfaction. You sneaked in and touched me. Who touched you? Mu Qingtian was so angry that she pinched his neck. I was curious and wanted to see what a boy's body looks like. Do you think I will believe it? He believed it in his heart, but Lin Xian teased maliciously, isn't it on the computer and TV? I haven't seen the real person. Mu Qingtian's eyes were pink, pitiful, and she made a tearful expression at the right time. Since the last time she found her brother crying, he seemed to be very panicked. He used this trick unconsciously. Sure enough, Lin Xian saw the mist in the eyes of the fairy in his arms, and was stunned for a moment, and softened his tone. Okay, if you want to see it, just watch it. It would be better if he didn't coax her. This coaxing caused trouble. As a single dog for 2 lifetimes, how could he know that girls get more excited the more they are coaxed? You're wrong. Mu Qingtian pursed her lips, sobbed, and tears came out instantly. I'm so, Lin Xian almost went crazy, and quickly coaxed, I'm wrong. Then will you listen to what your sister says in the future? Mu Qingtian cried and sobbed. Listen to everything. Lin Xian held her waist with one hand and patted her back with the other hand. Stop crying, okay. Then let's make a pinky promise. Mu Qingtian's peach blossom eyes blossomed brightly, and she stretched out her little finger. Lin Xian had no choice but to stretch out his little finger and hook her finger. pink, hang yourself. 100 years, don't change. In the living room. Mu Kinjian's lips raised a smile. Took an earphone off her white ear. The bathroom is not monitored, but it is monitored. There will be female guards monitoring abnormalities 24 hours a day. Avoid some problems. Originally, she was a little worried. A young man and woman soaking in the same bathtub, will it be? It seems that she thought too much. It's just that Mu Kinjian didn't expect it. A smart and intelligent boy will be controlled by the little sister who is possessed by the spirit of drama. Is it really impossible to tell that Mu Qingtian is acting? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixiong. Chapter 45. Amid Lin Xian's evil laughter, Mu Qingtian blushed and ran away. No matter how bold she is still an untouched woman. You can also call this kind of woman a girl. After taking a shower, Lin Xian changed into a set of home clothes. The clothes are the same ones I wore when I lived in the courtyard house last time. The Mu sisters actually didn't throw them away. Come to the living room. The two sisters were sitting on the sofa chatting. The wood is sweet and chirping. Mu Qingtian sat and listened. I saw Lin Xian coming. Mu Qingtian's cheeks turned red and she rolled her eyes. Mu Qingtian's beautiful eyes were warm and shining with a strange luster. Sister, what happened this time? After sitting down, Lin Xian looked at Mu Qingtian. Home is a place to rest, don't talk about things outside. Mu Qingtian interrupted him and stood up, let's eat first. Lin Xian was slightly stunned, then glanced at Mu Qingtian. This older sister protects her sister very well. I don't want my sister to be exposed to the filth of the outside world. The three siblings came to the restaurant. There are 4 dishes and 1 soup on the table. The two sisters didn't move their chopsticks very much. They were all watching their brother gobble it up. Lin Xian, who had been hungry for a long time, ate his food with a big mouthful of food. Eat a small bowl of rice in just a few bites. Mu Qing smiled sweetly and handed over the rice she had eaten for a few bites. Lin Xian didn't think too much, didn't dislike it, just took it and ate it. Mu Qingtian suddenly smiled brightly and picked up the chopsticks to pick up food for her brother. Mu Qingtian looked at the scene in front of her with soft eyes. Lin Xian also enjoys the simple, relaxed and warm atmosphere now. There is no pollution from the outside world, and there is no intrigue between people. There is no need to use your brain all the time to analyze the meaning of other people's words. This feels good. No wonder the elders say that a man wants to be completely grown up and sensible. I need a home, a gentle woman, and hot meals. When the time comes, no matter how hard or tiring it is outside. As long as you think of going home, you will forget your fatigue. The second bowl of rice was finished. The two sisters were a little surprised, feeling that Lin Xian was not full yet. However, looking at his height of 185 centimeters, there seems to be nothing wrong with him. Mu Qingtian hesitated a little. He handed over the rice bowl in front of him. After 3 bowls of rice, the 4 dishes were almost finished. Lin Xian put down the bowl and chopsticks and leaned on the chair, finally feeling full. Became a loser? In his previous life, he was not so good at eating. Does my abnormal ability come from my appetite? It's so scary, Lin Xian joked to himself. To his surprise, Mu Qingtian actually stood up and put away the dishes. Where's Sister Zhao? Lin Xian was confused. He was asking about the servant of the Mu family sisters, who was also the wet nurse. Sister Zhao has gone to take care of her grandson and will not be able to take care of us in the future. Mu Qingtian, who was helping her sister clean up the dishes, sounded reluctant. After all, she is their nanny, and they have been in a relationship for more than 20 years. But there is no such thing as a banquet that never ends. Who cooked the food? Lin Xian was surprised. In fact, I already have the answer in my heart. While taking a bath, Mu Qingtian played with him. It can only be food cooked by Mu Qingjian. I still remember Mu Qingtian also said that she can also cook. No, these two eldest ladies can actually cook. As for being so shocked? As for in today's era, 99% of girls cannot cook. Not to mention two flowers of wealth in the world. Lin Xian found out that he had a crush on the so-called second generation in the past. There is a huge misunderstanding. No need to help. Mu Qingjian, who was washing dishes and chopsticks, spoke calmly. Why don't you buy a dishwasher? Lin Xian did not leave and pushed Mu Qingtian away, who was causing trouble. Helping Mu Qingjian wash the dishes. Maybe you're used to it. Mu Qingjian's voice was soft. Huh, what's the big deal? Mu Qingtian hummed and shook Lin Xian's arm vigorously, acting cute and cute. Let's go and play. Don't think that if you act coquettishly, I will pamper you. Lin Xian glared at her. What time is it? No play. You clearly said you would listen to your sister from now on. Mu Qingtian quit. The male dog hugged his brother's waist without letting go and started to roll around. That look was no different from that of a troublesome child. Lin Xian and Mu Qingjian rolled their eyes in unison. Read the other person's eyes. Lin Xian, was she like this before? Mu Qingjian, she has always been like this. Lin Xian turned around and pinched Mu Qingtian's pretty nose with his fingers dipped in cold water. Wow, it's so cold. Mu Qingtian exclaimed, angrily throwing an angry look, it's so bad. Lin Xian ran away, and Mu Qingtian chased after him. Mu Qingjian watched her brothers and sisters running out of the kitchen, smiling and shaking her head. The original choice seemed to be the right one. With this younger brother, the house has also become full of fireworks. It's almost 12 o'clock. Lin Xian leaned on the sofa and looked at the charming little fairy beside him. Are you kidding? Do you have a fart? Mu Qing punched him sweetly. Lin Xian bared his teeth and said, yes, do you smell it? Kill you. Mu Qingtian pushed him down on the sofa, punched and kicked him. Lin Xian was too lazy to move, it didn't hurt anyway. He grunted like a lazy pig and pretended to beg for mercy. When Mu Qingtian had finished beating her, she tilted her head and looked at him with her peach blossom eyes. Brother, what do boys like to play? That's too much. Lin Xian thought for a while. Those who pick the key points say the same thing. Mu Qingtian blinked, she was so charming and beautiful. Then Lin Xian started talking nonsense, making money. Women. Oh, vulgar. Mu Qingtian curled her lips. If you had to choose between women and making money, what would a boy choose? You still need to ask. Lin Xian smiled and joked, let women make money. Mu Qingtian. Also, can this still be done? When he saw Lin Xian's evil smile, he knew that he had been tricked again. He jumped up and stepped on his stinky brother with his little feet. Why should you reward me? Lin Xian's smile gradually became abnormal. Pardon. Mu Qingtian was tired of stepping and threatened with his famous little fist gesture. Since letting women make money doesn't work, then. Lin Xian snickered, getting money from women. Mu Qingtian. Without saying a word, her charming pink face turned gloomy. The next second, a hungry tiger pounced on the sheep. No, it's a lamb attacking a tiger. Pounced on Lin Xian. Bite his neck. Lin Xian was stunned. Mu Qingtian was also stunned. Mu Qingjian, who came out of the kitchen and saw this scene, was also stunned. A strange atmosphere floated in the living room. Suddenly, Mu Qingtian jumped up. He ran away like a little rabbit. Lin Xian twitched the corner of his mouth and sat up. The old man looked embarrassed as Mu Qingjian came and sat aside. Actually, Lin Xian laughed awkwardly. Mu Qingjian looked at him with an expression that said, I'll see how your mouth is making you laugh. Lin Xian lowered his head with a guilty conscience and took out a cigarette, but couldn't find it. Mu Qingjian bent over and took out a box of cigars from under the coffee table. He took out the cigar cutters and lighter. He toasted a cigar elegantly, cut off the cap, lit it and handed it to him. Thanks. Lin Xian took it and took a deep breath. Moment. His expression changed and his cheeks turned red. Cough, cough, cough. He coughed crazily. Seeing the playfulness in Mu Qingjian's eyes, a smile twitched at the corner of her mouth. She deliberately teased me. Lin Xian was depressed. Cigar is not ordinary tobacco. It must be smoked through the mouth, not through the lungs. Mu Qingjian's beautiful autumn eyes gave him a white look. Fool. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kissyoon Jeon. Chapter 46. The Courtyard at Midnight. Immersed in a quiet and mysterious atmosphere. The moonlight, like a soft silver yarn, fell into the courtyard. It added a bit of poetry to this quiet space. Sister, thank you. Lin Xian sat on the steps, looking at the night sky and smoking a cigar. You're welcome. Mu Qingjian's hair was slightly loose, bathing in the moonlight. She looked like a cold goddess under the moon. It was impossible to have a blasphemous heart. Do I still have a chance to repay? Lin Xian joked. Mu Qingjian should have everything. What he has, she also has. What he doesn't have, as long as she wants, she can have it. If you really want to repay. Mu Qingjian lowered her head, looking at him calmly with her autumn eyes, live in the courtyard for a while. Lin Xian opened his mouth wide, was stunned for a long time, and said, Sister, I can't eat a little bit of soft rice. So. Boys must keep themselves clean and protect themselves when they go out. Don't let a woman be greedy for your body. Mu Qingjian was stunned. In a flash, she was angry and amused, and kicked him. What are you thinking about? Ah. Lin Xian thought, did I misunderstand? The sisters of the Mu family are greedy for my body? Play with Qingtian for a few days. Mu Qingjian sighed and looked at the night sky again. Is it really just playing with the little fairy? Lin Xian pondered for a while and thought of something. Let him live in the courtyard. Maybe it's because a certain Wang family doesn't want to let him go? As long as he stays in the courtyard, there are sisters of the Mu family to protect him. No one dares to touch him. The reason why Mu Qingjian is so tactful. Is it because she doesn't want to hurt the little boy's self-esteem? I'm still not good enough, Lin Xian silently complained. Few people know that those who don't want money are the most expensive. The favors owed are too big, and I don't know what to pay back. Take a rest. Mu Qingjian walked towards the backyard. Lin Xian smoked and looked at the moonlight. There was no intention to get up. I don't know how much time has passed. Fifth brother. Lin Xian looked at a dark corner in the yard. Come out and talk. A figure walked out from the corner and came to Lin Xian's side. What do you want to talk about? Wu Hao took a cigar handed by Lin Xian. After lighting it, he squinted his eyes and puffed out smoke. Can I learn something from you about the army? Lin Xian's eyes sparkled. Don't make trouble. Wu Hao smiled and said, you are a policeman, why do you learn how to kill people? Killing. That's right, the profession of a soldier is for killing people. Whether it is to defend the country or to resist aggression. When soldiers are dispatched, it is like turning on a killing machine. From ancient times to the present, it has always been like this. Of course it is to eliminate violence and protect ourselves. Lin Xian said as a matter of course, righteously. Wu Hao's eyes suddenly became strange. One person can kill a group of killers and a mercenary team. He told you that he wanted to learn military means just to eliminate violence and protect himself. Do you believe it? You are like a cross-stock performer under the overpass now. Wu Hao rolled his eyes. What do you want to learn? Shooting, fighting, military evasion. Lin Xian said excitedly, I want to learn everything. Shooting and fighting are not difficult to understand. What is military evasion? Individual tactical evasion skills, special body skills of special forces. That is the legendary snake skin movement. It is said that some powerful soldiers, even if you see him, you can't aim at him, let alone lock him. Because when you pull the trigger and shoot him, you can't hit him at all. It's more terrifying than dodging bullets. Of course, this kind of thing only exists in legends. Whether it is true or not, Lin Xian doesn't know. Military evasion. Wu Hao had a strange expression, as if he was looking at a god. Have you read too many novels? Fifth brother, we are one. Lin Xian imitated Mu Qingtian's pitiful expression and looked at Wu Hao. Teach me a few tricks. Wu Hao rolled his eyes. It depends on whether you can learn it. Next. Wu Hao taught some things. Lin Xian realized how terrifying real soldiers were. Why can't people run faster than beasts? Nonsense, beasts have 4 legs. Why does that person only walk on 2 legs instead of using both hands and feet? In the spacious courtyard. Lin Xian looked at Wu Hao, who was lying on the ground with his limbs like a beast. Instantly, Wu Hao rushed out. Like a cheetah running wildly on the ground. It can be seen that Wu Hao's sprinting movements are extremely strange. Maybe not as fast as normal humans, but he can use his limbs to change directions flexibly. And all his movements have strange explosive power. In order to survive in nature and adapt to the environment, wild animals make various physical changes. Wu Hao slowly stood up. You have seen cartoons, right? You have also seen robots in cartoons, right? Lin Xian nodded honestly. If I tell you, those humanoid robots will be a bunch of sitting ducks if they are deployed on the battlefield. Lin Xian sneered, what do you think? I lay down and watched, sat and watched with my eyes. Lin Xian rolled his eyes and said with a grimace, why? Today's military has already been equipped with land combat robots. Wu Hao smiled and said, and the robots that are truly suitable for the battlefield are almost all in animal form. The most representative one is the mechanical dog. Why do you think it is? Lin Xian was stunned. For a moment, I seemed to understand something. Subsequently, start learning Wu Hao's movements and learn to run on all 4s. Then I understood the true horror of the set of actions. First, using this posture to run, it is difficult to be aimed and locked by the muzzle. Because the area has shrunk so much from the original whole body. People habitually aim at the head and chest when shooting, and rarely shoot in 3 directions. So when you rush forward in this posture, it is also difficult for the enemy to adapt and aim. After an hour, Wu Hao was shocked. He discovered some of the animal-shaped movements he had taught Lin Xian. This little guy can learn it instantly. The scariest thing is, Lin Xian is also able to outdo his best, possessing inhuman flexibility and explosiveness. This night, Wu Hao carefully taught Lin Xian various individual battlefield evasion skills. When morning comes, the sun rises. The shock on Wu Hao's face has been replaced by numbness. He looked at the figures in the yard that seemed to be moving tirelessly and quickly. Endless coldness rose in my heart. Because Wu Hao discovered that he had accidentally forged a weapon. Killing weapon. At this time, whether Lin Xian is running, dodging, rolling, or running on all 4s, his body is moving at a speed that is difficult for ordinary people to understand. Constantly changing angles and changing trajectory. The transformation and connection between these actions. All completed within 0.3 seconds. What's even scarier is, even if it takes 0.3 seconds, Lin Xian can still make 2 fake moves in a row. Without any exaggeration. Even if they find the top sniper masters in the Dragon Kingdom army. Facing this moment, Lin Xian could only shake his head and smile bitterly. Not even the desire to pull the trigger. Because it is useless and impossible to aim at. If you can't even aim, how can you snipe him? I don't know when. In front of the window of a room in the courtyard. 6 young men and 4 women stood. They are all security guards and belong to the same security class. Many people may not know what a guard stands for. Well, bodyguards, I think many people can understand, right? The security guard is the ceiling of the bodyguard profession. But now, the 8 guards were looking at the yard with dumbfounded eyes. Looking at the figures in the courtyard, an idea came to mind. Is he still human? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 47. My brother is so awesome. In front of the living room window, Mu Qingtian was wearing a pink bunny pajamas, like a little nympho. Her charming peach blossom eyes were looking at Lin Xian, who was fighting against 6 guards by himself in the courtyard. She doesn't like boys fighting. Instead, he stared at Lin Xian's bare-chested 8-pack abs and his body that was more domineering than a model. Greedy. In the kitchen. Mu Qingjian, who was making breakfast, glanced at the kitchen window from time to time. Watching the wild fight between the men. Watching Lin Xian beat 6 guards with 1 person. It's really unscrupulous. Mu Qingjian raised the corners of her lips, you don't even hide anymore. Naughty. 5 minutes later, inside the hospital. Lin Xian, panting, lay on the bluestone ground. Grinning, laughing happily. Experience what it means to be hardy. And the guards who were also breathing heavily. But he looked at Lin Xian like a monster. Only an hour. This monster combines the fighting skills they have honed over countless years. Learned it all. They were completely convinced. Because everyone could see that Lin Xian kept his hand. If it's a life and death fight. Maybe they will be the ones lying down now? Not maybe, but definitely. 5th brother, when will you take me to play with guns? After almost resting, Lin Xian sat up. He looked at Wu Hao, who was silent all the time. In the next life. Wu Hao replied without hesitation, you can never touch military weapons in this life. Although you can easily take Lin Xian to certain places and let him play with guns casually. But, don't dare. Just one night, Wu Hao actually had an illusion. The contents in the martial arts novels I read in the past may be true. There is a kind of monster, or genius, who can indeed have a photographic memory. To put it mildly. With Lin Xian's current monster-like strength. You are letting him learn all kinds of shooting and become familiar with all weapons. The aversion to cold was like a tide, flooding Wu Hao's heart. Like falling into an ice cave. Do you want to be so awesome? Lin Xian walked up to Wu Hao and teased, didn't we agree on the deep brotherhood? Who told you? There seemed to be black lines hanging from the corners of Wu Hao's eyes. I feel that my nerves may be starting to weaken. Too dangerous. I'm not afraid of danger, Lin Xian grinned. You think I'm talking about weapons? Wu Hao was amused, I'm really talking about you. Lin Xian, sigma, degree. What did I do? Sudden. The door to the back house was slowly pushed open. Don't make things difficult for me, 5th brother, come back and have breakfast. Mu Qingjian stood at the door and looked at Lin Xian. Mu Qingtian also stood behind her sister, making faces at her brother. Boss, do you want to report it? A guard looked at Lin Xian's leaving figure and asked. Report. Wu Hao smiled bitterly, with the Mu sisters protecting him, even if he has an abnormality, it will become normal. If he doesn't retaliate, what's the point? The other guards were silent. Yeah, what's the point? I took a shower to wash away the sweat. Lin Xian came to the dining table. After sitting down, I ate with my two sisters. Have you reported that your family is safe? Mu Qingjian served him a bowl of porridge. I said I wanted to live outside recently, but my mother scolded me. Lin Xian looked depressed. She said I was ambitious and ran away from home. Puff. Mu Qingtian, who was drinking porridge, squirted out in one gulp. I sprayed my brother with grains of rice all over his face. Lin Xian, asterisk. He reached out and wiped his face, picked up the porridge bowl and started to cook. Mu Qingjian glared at her sister and asked with a smile, "You don't agree?" "Agreed, but there is a condition." Lin Xian swallowed the porridge, slurring his words. He said that if I can't bring a girlfriend back when I get home, I'll break my legs. After saying that, he put on a trembling look. Ha ha. Mu Qingtian's flowers trembled, and she smiled and touched her brother's head. How pitiful. If you don't know how to comfort people, don't comfort them. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. It sounds like he's making sarcastic remarks. What are you afraid of? Mu Qingtian patted her soft and white hands and said happily, as long as you make your sister happy, I can pretend to be your girlfriend. You. Lin Xian curled his lips and said, let's forget it. With my mother's IQ, I can definitely tell at a glance that she is fake. As for Dad, he is a university professor. Is there any need to talk about IQ? You hate it? Mu Qingtian became angry and gave him a slap in the face under the dining table. Sister's acting skills are really amazing. Haha, Lin Xuanke didn't believe it. Just listen to what women say, if you take it seriously you will lose. What's the saying? If you take the woman's words seriously, you deserve to be single. Kill you. Mu Qingtian rushed forward. I was wrong. Lin Xian apologized without moral integrity. Apologizing is like taking a dump. Just pull it and get used to it. Mu Qingjian was too lazy to watch them fight and concentrated on eating porridge. Lin Xian was so troubled that he couldn't help it. He held Mu Qingtian on his lap and coaxed, little ancestor, can you eat well? No. Mu Qingtian angrily retaliated, you have to wait for me to eat? Okay, I'll wait for you. Lin Xian picked up the spoon and fed her food. Mu Qingtian felt proud and ate the porridge fed by her brother. It seems that the hands on the waist have been ignored. He forgot that he was still sitting on Lin Xian's lap. Who suffers and who wins? Mu Qingjian looked at them calmly, feeling a little headache. I knew they were having fun and didn't do anything unusual. But there is an idiom that says it well. Love grows over time. Back house, a strange little room. Say it's strange. Because this is like a singing studio. But all the equipment is professional. At this time, Mu Qingtian was holding a microphone and singing a pop song along with the accompanying music. Lin Xian was a little surprised. Mu Qingtian has a very good voice, with a soft magnetism and a bit of coquettish sweetness. As soon as you hear it, you can tell that you have received professional training. Because the voice is so good, it gives people the illusion of being itchy. Lin Xian turned to look at Mu Qingjian beside him, so powerful. Everyone will become great for their dreams. Mu Qingjian pointedly said, the same goes for you. Lin Xian smiled when he thought of his dream of being a police officer. After this incident, can I still be a police officer? You probably won't be able to return to your original unit. Mu Qingjian pursed her lips, but there is a place that I think is very suitable for you and can fulfill your dream of being a police officer. Moment. Lin Xian's eyes lit up, and his excited hands trembled uncontrollably. Where? Don't ask now because you're at home. There was a trace of teasing in Mu Qingjian's beautiful eyes. Have you forgotten what I said? Lin Xian. After half talking, is this still a human being? Mu Qingjian now looks like a goddess who consumes spare tires. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixiun Zhou. Chapter 48. Time flies, and a week goes by in a blink of an eye. In the bedroom in the early morning, the sunlight gently penetrates through the gaps in the curtains, casting mottled light and shadow. The quilt on the bed looked a little messy due to the owner's sleeping position. The entire bedroom was wrapped in warm sunshine. Lin Xian closed his eyes, but didn't want to get up. He found that he seemed to have fallen into his comfort zone. Every day, someone will cook for him and play with him. When bored, you can also learn fighting and military skills on the battlefield. I just need clothes to stretch out my hands, and food to open my mouth. Lin Xian, how dare you degenerate like this? But, so comfortable, Lin Xian, lying in bed, sighed silently. His super hearing allowed him to hear the door being quietly pushed open. I even heard a pair of little feet sneaking towards the bed. A small hand fell on his nose and pinched it. Accompanied by giggles, it sounded in my ears. Lin Xian still didn't want to open his eyes. Your exclusive wake-up caller, come and report. A soft, charming, and soft voice said, get up quickly. You lazy pig, the sun is shining on you. Get up, bed. Hearing this coquettish wake-up bell, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth began to rise. It's harder to suppress than a firing AK. Get up quickly. The slurred words were threatening, if you don't get up, I'll kill you. Oh, why are you still sleeping? Do you still want to be the best in the world with your sister? Do you want to? Lin Xian sighed and opened his eyes. Looking at Mu Qingtian pouting beside the bed, I want to. Ha ha. Mu Qingtian was happy and pulled Lin Xian out of bed. Pushing him towards the private bathroom in the bedroom, go and wash up quickly. Breakfast will be ready soon. If you don't hurry up, your sister Qingjian will beat you. In the bathroom. Lin Xian standing under the spray. Feel the water flowing over your body. Enjoy the comfort brought by the warmth. I finally found that I had a habit. If depravity can be considered a habit. Like this past week. The three siblings sat together at the dining table. Eating breakfast amidst warmth and laughter. After eating, I washed the dishes. It was rare that Mu Qingtian didn't pester Lin Xian to act coquettishly and cutely. I went to my own exclusive singing room to practice singing and dancing. Mu Qingjian said to him at this time, come to the study. In the study room. Mu Qingjian picked up a black handbag and handed it over, open it and take a look. Lin Xian? What? Wait until he gets it in his hand and opens it to take a look. The whole person was stunned. Inside are two sets of clothes. One is a police uniform and one is an executive jacket. It wasn't just these two sets of clothes that stunned Lin Xian. Instead, at the bottom of the handbag, there is a wooden box. A golden certificate of honor. A red certificate of merit. After coming back to his senses, Lin Xian picked up the certificate of honor. Name, Lin Xian. Sex, male. Position, Academy Police Officer. Award level, First Class Merit. Unit, Beijing XX Criminal Investigation Brigade. Approval Authority, Longguo Ministry of Public Security. Year, month, and day, 2016, 4/12. Award Document, Jinggong Award ZI, 2016, Number 1. Note, Comrade Lin Xian has made outstanding achievements in major cases and won first-class merit. He is hereby commended. First-class merit? Lin Xian's eyes widened, and his face was filled with unconcealable ecstasy. It's like being in a dream world. Enjoying this unexpected surprise. But why? Lin Xian's surprise turned into confusion. until, his eyes looked at Mukinjian in front of him. Suddenly, he stretched out his hands and hugged her tightly. A faint smile appeared in Mukinjian's eyes. Quietly leaning into his arms, she said softly, "I deserve it? How come it's so fast?" Lin Xian's chin dropped on her shoulder and he murmured. First-class merit does not mean you can be approved if you can. It needs to be reported at all levels, and more importantly, it needs to be reviewed at all levels. It's like a police officer solving a major case. It can take up to 3 months to get credit. If it is slow, it may even take half a year, which is not unusual. Because the case you solved is so special. Mukinjian's voice was as cold as the lake water in winter, with a hint of chill. You can now walk out of the courtyard with peace of mind. Lin Xian was shocked. Think of a possibility. That Wang family is completely finished. Is this the so-called thunder method? So cruel. Stop being such a spoiled brat and put on your police uniform. Mukinjian's coldness disappeared, and with a smile on her lips, she gently pushed the big boy in front of her away. In a moment, guests will come. Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. What guests? Saihewan living room. Lin Xian, who put on a police uniform, looked at the epaulets with complicated eyes. 1 bar and 1 star, 3rd level superintendent. Said before. The Public Security Agency abolished the rank of police officer in 2016. Nowadays, when a trainee police officer becomes a full-time police officer, the lowest police rank is Superintendent 3. And a trainee was awarded the title of first-class police officer. Transformation is inevitable. There are clear provisions that those who have made meritorious service can be promoted to police rank and position in advance. Here comes a question. Mukinjian told him that he could not go back to his original unit. He also became a formal policeman. Where will he work next? The answer was soon revealed. A special guest came to the courtyard. A middle-aged woman in a white shirt uniform. The epaulets on the other person's shoulders made Lin Xian's pupils shrink. She should be no more than 40 years old, right? The lowest level of the 3-level police inspectors is the level of the director, and the highest is the level of the deputy director. But I don't know what the other person's major is. For example, the 3rd-level police inspector. It can be a 1st-level director, a 1st-level police sergeant, or a 1st-level researcher. Corresponding to police technology, law enforcement, and duty, and comprehensive management, the 3 majors are very different. But they are all senior. Kinjian, how come you have time to think of your old sister? The female police inspector smiled and sat down, glancing at Lin Xian. It was just a look, looking gentle. But there was a sharp luster in her eyes. It seemed that she was particularly surprised that a young policeman would appear in the courtyard. Or, how could there be a man other than a guard here? I have something to trouble Sister Lu. Mukinjian's expression was still elegant. My brother has been playing with me these days, and he also acted like a spoiled child with me, asking me to help him find a job. I want to ask Sister Lu if there is any way. When these words came out, the faces of Lin Xian and the female police supervisor changed. Acting like a spoiled child, are you talking about me? Lin Xian's mouth twitched. When the female police monitor heard Mukinjian say the word brother, the expression was so wonderful. She looked at Lin Xian again, as if looking at some strange creature. That look seemed to be asking, is this brother a serious brother? I don't know if he is serious or not, but you can see that he is very intimate. Don't joke. The female police supervisor asked with a smile, does your brother still need me to arrange a job for him? He has no intention of becoming an official. Mukinjian's cheeks bloomed with a graceful smile, looking at Lin Xian. I just want to be a policeman. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 49. She just wanted to be a policeman. Luyan had a complicated expression. Memories appear in the eyes, and thoughts return to the past. That year, her dream was to be a pure police officer. Uphold justice and eradicate violence. When she graduated from the police academy, she entered society and put on a police uniform to work. I found that the so-called dream seemed to be very different from what I imagined. Slowly, her dream of being a police officer subsided. Becoming less pure. Come to your senses. Luyan looked at the big boy in police uniform in front of her and looked directly into his eyes. Yes, it's this kind of dreamy look. She seemed to see the shadow of herself when she was a police officer. Then he asked, "Why do you want to be a police officer?" Lin Xian was surprised. Because of what the other person said, the master in this life also asked. Do you need a reason? Lin Xian looked directly into her eyes. Luyan was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "No need. It's really not necessary. Do you know how precious the Mu family princess favor is? With just one sentence, the young man in front of you can live a lifetime of prosperity and wealth. So, if it's not like, it's not love, it's not a dream. How many people can choose to be policemen instead of being rich and famous? Want to arrange him to my place?" Luyan looked at Mu Qingjian. Mu Qingjian nodded. "You want him to?" Luyan laughed. "Are you trying to harm your brother? Wait until you know what he's capable of." Mu Qingjian rarely joked, "I wouldn't say that." Luyan was surprised and looked at Lin Xian. "Ability? What ability does a young person have?" Smiling and shaking their heads, Luyan and Mu Qingjian chatted about family matters. The two women seemed to have forgotten Lin Xian. "Forgot about business, we had a great time chatting." Seeing the two female bosses chatting there, Lin Xian was envious. Like a newbie who just left the novice village. Watching two full-level bosses showing off in front of me. Chatted for a while. Luyan stood up and said, "Take me to say hello to the old man." "Okay." Mu Qingjian said goodbye. "Don't you want to be a policeman?" Luyan looked at Lin Xian and smiled, "Come with me." Lin Xian. "Why do you women always make people misunderstand what you say? I don't sell my body to perform my art." Lin Xian and Luyan walked out of the courtyard together. Get in a police SUV. The entrance to the courtyard. Can he hold on to his dream? Mu Qingtian stood beside her sister and looked at the police car in the distance. She at this time. The rare charm and naivete on his face was gone, and his expression was serious. Just like a silly sweet girl, she evolved into an intellectual royal sister. My gut tells me so. Mu Qingjian's voice had a clear charm. Maybe other people's dreams will change one day, but he will not. Yet. Mu Qingtian's perfect body leaned softly in her sister's arms. Will my dreams change? Have no idea. Mu Qingjian sighed softly. You are so good at acting, even I, the elder sister, sometimes can't see through you. You think, one day, will we become empressy? Mu Qingtian rested her head on her sister's neck. Brother became Emperor Shun. Are you crazy? Sister. What? You're blushing. Longguo Public Security Department. Lin Xian got out of the commercial car. Looking at the majestic and breathtaking building in front of you. Shocked to my heart. Luyan took him in through the main entrance. After passing the security check, I walked into the elevator and arrived at the 5th floor. In front of an office. When Lin Xian saw the door plaque on the office, his pupils shrank violently. Supervising the inspectorate's office? Supervision is highly targeted and promotes very specific work. Inspectors, especially police inspectors, can be a bit scary. To put it simply, they are the supervisors of the people's police. When supervision and inspection come together, there will be a qualitative change. Some people may still not understand what kind of unit this is. To put it bluntly, it is very similar to the ancient censors who patrolled the 8 prefectures. It's just that this 8 prefecture patrol officer is from within the police force. Lu Yan, 37 years old, is the Deputy Director and Deputy Director of the Supervision and Inspection Office of the Ministry of Public Security. The 37-year-old Deputy Director should understand the concept of it all. However, this is not the point. The key point is Lu Yan's responsibility. She is not only the Deputy Director of the Supervision and Inspectorate Office, also in charge of the Ministry of Public Security, Special Criminal Case Task Force, Secretary. This position belongs to the category of high management but low management. It is actually normal for the deputy office to be in charge of division-level units. For example, the deputy director of some branches also serves as the captain of the criminal investigation team. Some deputy mayors also serve as chiefs of public security, and they all share this kind of responsibility. Inside the office, Lin Xian and Lu Yan were sitting on the sofa. A correspondent brought 2 cups of tea and placed them in front of the two of them. At this time, Lin Xian sat upright, looking like a little white rabbit. "How?" Lu Yan smiled and said, "Are you still pretending to be an honest child in front of Sister Lu?" "My sister always says that I am naughty." Lin Xian said seriously, "Let me be honest outside and don't get into trouble." This is half true and half false. The Mu sisters never said that. But Lao Wu warned him, asking him to keep a low profile in the future and not to have 2 dark hands. If he really gets into trouble in the future, even his 2 sisters can't protect him. He's doomed. Mama's boy. No. Lu Yan was completely amused by the little guy. "You are a sister's boy." Sister's boy." Lin Xian couldn't pretend anymore, and asked with a smile, "Sister Lu, what kind of job are you going to arrange for me? I need to find out first." Lu Yan looked at the shoulder badges on Lin Xian's police uniform. "I also need to see what kind of job you are suitable for." "Actually," Lin Xian said modestly, "I'm just a little policeman that no one wants." "Haha, I don't believe you." Lu Yan's expression did not change, and she looked at Lin Xian deeply. "Take out your mobile phone, open a software, scan Lin Xian's face, and enter the big database." Then, Lu Yan was stunned. Lin Xian's personal file did appear in the database. But it was all some ordinary information. But in the personal file notes, I actually saw this line of words. "Won the first-class individual police merit once." This is not the key. For ordinary people, the first-class merit may be quite scary. But at her level, she has seen too many people who have won first-class merit, and it's just that. What made Lu Yan stunned was not the first-class merit. It was Lin Xian's file information table and the summary of his meritorious deeds. It was actually locked. In jargon, the file is sealed. Certain permissions are required to view it. This shows that Lin Xian's personal file has a level. There are actually access permissions for a small policeman's file? What an international joke. Even for section and department level police officers, there are no permissions required. Why can a third-level police inspector who is not even a section officer? Lu Yan came back to her senses and her expression gradually became solemn. Click to apply for access. In an instant, face recognition appeared on the phone. After scanning, Lu Yan's expression changed instantly. Looking at a dialog box that popped up above. And a line of words in the dialog box. "Sorry, you do not have the right to view this file. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet." Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 50. In April in Beijing, the temperature is already over 20 degrees. But at this time, Lu Yan broke out in a cold sweat. As the Deputy Director of the Supervision and Inspection Office of the Ministry of Public Security, she has great authority. From the common people down to the ordinary ministerial level, Lu Yan has the right to access and view the files of these people, because this is the right given to her by the state. So, in the Dragon Kingdom, there were very few files left that she could not view. And there are no files that she has permission to view. One of those people jumped out randomly. Use phrases from online games. He can turn her into scum in an instant. Are the Muse sisters amazing? But their files are no secret to Lu Yan. What kind of person you have to be? The file level is as high as those of special beings, and higher than the level of the Mu family sisters. Even the archives warned her. Sorry, you do not have permission to view this file. Do you really think this sentence is just an apology and was sent by the system? Stop it. Lu Yan knew very well that this sentence was typed by artificial hands. Explain that Lin Xian's personal files are monitored 24 hours a day. When Lu Yan came back to her senses, her body felt cold every inch of her body. It was obviously a hot day, but she felt like she was in the 12th lunar month of winter. Slowly shuddered. Hey, why is she trembling? Lin Xian blinked and looked at Lu Yan, whose face turned pale. But I was wondering inexplicably, are you sick? Xiao Menxin looked at the big boss in front of him quietly. Still waiting for the other party to arrange work for me. Little did he know that the female boss in his eyes almost fell to her knees. Even Lin Xian himself didn't know. Now his file level has reached an outrageous level. Don't even know. The last murder. He single-handedly killed countless killers and wiped out a team of mercenaries. Listed as a secret. Don't even know. If he hadn't stayed in the Muse sisters' courtyard during those days, he said he would be taken to some secret place for investigation. Of course there is the most critical point. Lin Xian himself and his family. It shows that he will not be treasonous and will not stand against the people. If he really dares to do something inappropriate, by then, there may be no need for the state to take action. There will be people who want to kill relatives out of righteousness. A long while. What is your purpose as a police officer? Lu Yan put down her phone and asked this seemingly idiotic question. Lin Xian, Omega. Does she have some serious illness? What else can she do as a police officer? Of course, it's criminal investigation, solving crimes, fighting the bad guys with wits and courage, and eliminating violence. Otherwise, with his face that is comparable to that of a celebrity. Let's be a handsome man who enjoys happiness. Isn't he delicious? After understanding the little guy's expression, Lu Yan asked, want to be a front-line policeman? Right. Lin Xian's eyes twitched, I like investigating and solving cases. Have you ever experienced investigating crimes? Lu Yan asked calmly. You've seen my file, why are you still asking? Lin Xian nodded, 1 kidnapping, 1 murder, special promotion, trainee to full-time. Kidnapping. Homicide. The corners of Lu Yan's mouth twitched uncontrollably. None of these things were noted on his file. Why is it not noted? Lu Yan didn't dare to guess. There are some things that you shouldn't know, so it's best not to know. If you are too curious, you are irresponsible in life. Certainly. If you want to die, that's a different matter. In this case, Lu Yan had a headache. Is it okay to start as an ordinary criminal police officer? When she said this, she felt uneasy inside. He was already prepared to give some explanation when Lin Xian turned against him. But no problem at all. Lin Xian looked happy, I just became a full-time employee. Lu Yan. He stared at Lin Xian for a long time to confirm that he was not speaking sarcastically. Well. Lu Yan forced out a slightly soft smile and picked up the landline phone on her desk. A phone call was made. About half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. A second-level police inspector wearing a police uniform walked into the office. "Raise your hand and salute Lu Yan." Lin Xian looked at the policeman. The man was about 35 years old. His eyes revealed calmness and perseverance. It seems that it has experienced countless ups and downs. This is a combination of calmness, strength, and sharpness. All kinds of advantages combined into one, an extremely outstanding man. When Lin Xian looked at each other, the man's keen perception made him look at Lin Xian. Suddenly, the two eyes collided in the air. Wang Meng was shocked. Facing Lin Xian's sharp gaze, his eyes felt a strange stinging sensation. But when he saw the third-class superintendent's epaulets on the other party's police uniform, he was stunned. How could a person with eyes like that be just a new police officer? "Sit." Lu Yan pointed to the guest sofa and introduced to Lin Xian, Wang Meng, leader of the Heavy Special Criminal Case Task Force. Lin Xian. When Lin Xian was introduced, Lu Yan had a strange expression. "I have just been promoted to a full-time job and have been specially recruited to our Heavy Special Criminal Case Task Force." Lin Xian and Wang Meng's eyes lit up together and they stood up. "Hello." Wang Meng extended his hand with a gentle smile. "Welcome." "Hello, Director Wang." Lin Xian held the other's hand with both hands. "I've heard of you for a long time." "I've heard of you for a long time?" "That means I haven't heard of you, just business flattery. I'll work for him in the future." "You still have to have the social etiquette." Wang Meng looked at Lin Xian's outstretched hands and laughed. "The little guy is quite interesting." But Wang Meng didn't underestimate Lin Xian. "Can anyone join the special criminal case team?" And Lu Yan specially recruited him, let him meet in the office and introduce him in person. It also shows two possibilities. 1. Lin Xian's identity and background are not simple. 2. He is a very capable person. And he has just confirmed the eye contact. Wang Meng thinks it should be the second one. Talents are welcome everywhere. "I won't say much about how to lead," Lu Yan said to Wang Meng, "but you can't bully newcomers." This sentence is actually a reminder. Keep your eyes open and don't do stupid things. Wang Meng misunderstood. He thought the leader was telling him, "Take good care of talents and don't tire them out." Then, Lu Yan's correspondent brought several documents for Lin Xian to fill out. The first one was the application form for special recruitment into the police force by the Ministry of Public Security. The second one was the registration form for employment. The third one was the application form for joining the party. The fourth one. After Lin Xian filled out 7 documents, it was already noon. "Okay." Lu Yan said to her subordinates, "Take the people away." "Yes." Wang Meng raised his hand and saluted. Lin Xian followed suit. After watching the two leave the office, Lu Yan sat on the chair. As if exhausted, she let out a long breath. She took out her mobile phone and called Mu Qinjian. The call was connected. "Qinjian, we have been sisters for more than 20 years. Lu Yan looked solemn. "Who is your brother?"